On today's Undercover Boss, prepare for an episode that will blow you away as we follow the journey of one of the youngest CEOs of the world as he goes undercover within his own company. Brace yourselves as he encounters the unsung heroes who silently shape the success of his organization. Stay with us to see what happens when this CEO, for the very first time on the history of Undercover Boss, gets fired. GSI creates the websites for the product, and they then store and ship the product directly to the customers. And this means that most online shoppers have used GSI systems to get their products. Mike loved business since he was a little boy, and when he was 8 years old, he sold stationery door to door, and by the time he was 14, he opened his own ski shop, and by the time he was 21, he had a business making $100 million. Being the CEO of a fast-running company, Mike is always working, and he mostly never has time to spend with his wife and daughter. He's an obsessed man, always trying to reach the next big goal. Mike has been thinking of a way to improve his business, and he came up with the idea to go undercover in his company. During the peak seasonal time for the company, he calls a meeting with his board members and reveals to them that he will be going undercover for a week.
I'm stepping down as the CEO of GSI Commerce for next week. Not in total.
Mike will be going undercover as Gary, and his workers will be told that he's taking part in a TV show about seasonal jobs. For his first job, he flies to Richwood, Kentucky to work in the fulfillment center where they pack thousands of orders daily to be sent to customers. He meets with Matt, who works as a floor supervisor, and he takes him to a seasonal worker, Rochelle, and she teaches him how to load the trucks with the boxes. The job is very intense as the boxes come fast, but they manage to keep up with the load together. But as they were moving the boxes, Mike accidentally hits Rochelle on the face.
I feel like we're getting... Oh! Are you okay?
No, not really. Just be careful.
They then start doing the much more easier task of stacking boxes, and Mike sees Rochelle using new techniques to speed up the work and be more productive. He's impressed to see a seasonal worker who will not be here the next season working that hard to increase the efficiency of the company. The next day, Mike travels to Florida to work in the call centers, and GSI receives more than 20 million calls a year, so it's important that the calls go well. He meets up with Adam, who takes customer complaint calls, and Mike just listens in for a few calls and sees how it's done. Mike was impressed with Adam's work, and when his turn came to take the calls, with some help from Adam, Mike accepts the calls and resolves the various issues of the customers. After the break, Mike sits with Danielle and takes the next customer call, which was a lot harder than before since the customer was not budging for his offer, and Danielle gets impatient and puts the customer on hold. She then takes the call and gets into an argument with the customer.
May I speak now?
The whole point is, where is
Ma'am, Elizabeth,
not getting any credit?
You're not letting me talk. You're not letting me talk, so I can't help you, Elizabeth. I'm sorry that you're having a hard time.
Honoring what
Mike gets visibly upset by Danielle's behavior and the way she treated the customer and almost blew his cover. The call ends without getting resolved as the customer gets frustrated and just hangs up, and then Mike steps outside and lets out his anger. For his next job, he travels back to Richwood, Kentucky to work in the fulfillment center to work as a box patcher, and he meets with packing supervisor Greg, who immediately takes him to the packing area. He is put alongside Shannon, who teaches him how to pack, and Shannon is very fast and she does double the work. Mike is impressed with her speed and tries to follow under her, but it doesn't really go well as he only does half the requirement. During their lunch break, they talk about family, and he learns that Shannon works 7 days a week to help her family out. On their next shift, Gary comes back with Mike's packed boxes, which had multiple problems. He tells him that he's not reaching the requirement and fires Mike on the spot.
Between the issues with the boxes and your numbers, we no longer need your services.
Nothing I can do.
No.
Mike is shocked as he just got fired, and he feels embarrassed about his performance and notes how hard the job is, and he then thanks Shannon before leaving. And although Mike just got fired, his undercover time is still going, and the next day he travels to another fulfillment center in Louisville, Kentucky to work on a night shift. He meets up with Cameron and he shows him how boxes are located and picked from their shelves. Mike follows suit for the first few orders, and on their breaks, Mike meets Cameron's young daughter who has come to work with him.
Hey, baby.
Cameron doesn't get to see his daughter as much as he wants to, but he tries to make time whenever he can. On their next shift, Mike and Cameron start a competition on who can do certain tasks faster. And unsurprisingly, Cameron wins by a big margin, but they both have fun. And finally, Mike's undercover time has come to an end, and he's learned a lot during his time undercover, and one of the things that he's learned is to spend more time with his family. And he gained this perspective after he met Cameron and Adam. And next, Mike calls his employees to a GSI building to reveal his true identity. First in was Rochelle, who impressed him by her hard work, and he tells her that he's proud of her and offers her a full-time job at the company, and Rochelle is thankful for her new job and hugs Mike. Next in was Cameron, and he tells him that he admires both his work ethic and his dedication to raising his daughter right, and he gives him a $1,000 gift card to get his daughter a great Christmas gift, and offers him a promotion in the company, and Cameron, teary-eyed, thanks Mike for the opportunity. Next was Shannon.
I'm not actually Gary. I'm Michael Rubin, the founder and CEO of the company.
And he gives her $5,000 so she can spend it on her son. Next in was Danielle, and Mike was not happy with her, and now that she's in front of him, she apologizes and Mike gives her another chance and promises to give better training to all employees so that this doesn't happen again. And on her way out, she promises that she will do great next time. Last in was Adam, and he tells him that he was blown away with his work ethic and attitude to customers, and he tells him that he was heartbroken with the story of losing his daughter, and it's made Mike reconsider his priorities in life.
You know, one of the things that you talked about, saving money to get married, I know it's something you've been waiting to do. I'd like to put $10,000 toward your wedding.
Adam is speechless by this, and he thanks Mike for his generosity.
I'm speechless.
Mike also wanted to share his experience with other employees, so he arranges his town hall to talk about his experience. He shows them highlights of his undercover time, and he gives a speech and promises to make the company better for everyone. He then thanks his employees before ending the event, and in the weeks since, all of Rochelle's hard work has paid off, and she now has a full-time position at the company. Cameron is on his way to becoming a supervisor, and he's attending a GSI leadership conference that spring, and his daughter also had the best Christmas ever. Shannon has put the $5,000 to good use and is helping her son's football team. Danielle underwent customer service retraining and she's no longer with the company. And lastly, Adam and his fiancée are planning their dream wedding. And that is how this delightful episode of Undercover Boss comes to an end. Headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia, Moe's Southwest Grill offers healthy cuisines at 500 locations, serving more than 150,000 guests a day, making it one of the fastest growing chain restaurants in the world. Leading this $500 million a year company and its 10,000 employees is President Paul D'Amico.
My name is Paul D'Amico, and I'm the president of Moe's Southwest Grill. Welcome to Moe's!
Moe's is a high-energy restaurant, and they're known for their burritos, quesadillas, tacos, and nachos, and it was founded in 2000 in Atlanta, Georgia. And their brand grew very quickly throughout the Southeast, and in 2007, Paul joined the company to lead it to its next evolution. Today, Moe's Southwest Grill has 500 restaurants in the US and in Moscow, and they're opening a new restaurant every 6 days and growing really rapidly. Paul's role as a president is to bring the most talented, high-energy people into this brand, and his favorite thing to do is to partake in the culinary development and spend time with the executive chef, and also doing stuff like tasting the new recipes is something that he loves to do. Paul grew up in eastern Long Island. His father worked as a chef, and as a 9th grader, he took him to the restaurant to teach him about the business. Paul started working as a dishwasher, and he really enjoyed working in a restaurant, and after he finished high school, he joined a culinary school, and he then got his business degree, and 25 years later, he was the president of Moe's. Since Paul joined the company, they have been growing really fast, but he still wants to grow faster and improve while doing so. Paul wants to go undercover because he wants to find out if there are any issues that he can fix. He'll be going undercover as Mark Richards, a failed restaurant owner. His employees will be told that he's a contestant on a reality show, competing to win his own restaurant. For his first job, he travels to Fort Myers, Florida, to work as a shift supervisor.
Today I am in Fort Myers, Florida, and I will be working with a shift supervisor.
He meets up with Tito, who takes him to the kitchen and shows him how to roll a burrito, and he then tells him to do it and gets angry at him when he makes a little mistake. Paul was a little frustrated, as this is not how managers should be training new employees, but Tito tells him that this is how he had done it with all of his workers. He then puts him on a meat cutting job and again yells at him and insults him when he messes up a little. Paul also sees that Tito yells at other workers as well, even if they're doing their job well.
Oh my god, you are just a ding-dong.
And he sees that the mood in the kitchen is actually turning sour. This really angers Paul, but he keeps his cool to not blow his cover. He later sees that Tito had only been a manager for 2 months, and he's only 19.
I'm 19.
Yeah.
This is my second job ever.
That's it?
Yeah, and it's my first manager experience.
Paul sees that Tito might be acting this way because this is his first job, and he doesn't really know how to lead people. The next day he travels to Charleston, South Carolina to work with the manager, and he meets with Angelisa, and she teaches him how to use the cash register.
Time that they leave your counter, okay? So you have to multitask, and you have to be happy the whole time that you're doing it.
And he then does the job, but he was a little too slow, which wasn't really helpful, especially during the lunch rush, and people were waiting in line, but Angelisa helps him out and they finish the job. While working with her, Paul sees that she has a great relationship with her workers and her customers, as most of them are regulars and they really like her.
Oh, you switched it up. Where are your tacos?
I know.
You didn't get your tacos
You
today.
made tacos today.
There you go.
Great, thank you.
She then teaches him to make tacos, and with her great teaching skills, he does pretty well, and he later learns that she's a single mom and has to work long hours to support her 2 children. The next day, he travels to Columbia, South Carolina to work with a catering director, and he meets up with Janet, and she takes him on the road to the sheriff department to set up a buffet. Paul sees that Janet is very organized and meticulous in doing her job.
The first thing that I got from Janet was that she is extremely organized.
When I set up a catering, all of my utensils are to the right.
And her customers really like her and invite her over multiple times. They then go to another place to get free samples, and Paul accidentally uses his real name when introducing himself to the customers, and he thought that he blew his cover, but Janet didn't really hear him, so his cover was safe.
Mark. I forgot my name. I said my real name. I don't think that she heard it.
We also see Paul at his best, as he's a great salesman, and without any help from Janet, he signs up new customers. For his last job, he travels to Nashville, Tennessee to work as a line worker, and he meets up with Damon, and he teaches him stuff from preparing food to packing it, and Damon is a great teacher, and he shows him everything step by step.
You can just catch him like that.
One motion.
Yeah.
You see my face?
Yeah, you see that? That's the one I was talking about.
And Paul follows his lead and does everything well. And later on their break, he learns that Damon is a single dad, and he used to live in a car, and the birth of his daughter gave him the motivation to pick himself up and work hard.
Yeah, she's the reason I get up every morning. I've only had 2 hours sleep today, and that's just something gets me up every morning, you know.
And now he's raising his daughter the way he should. That is it for today's amazing episode of Undercover Boss. Will he be able to survive among his employees, and can he really handle the gritty reality of manual labor after years of luxurious living, as Sheldon, the CEO of Belfer, takes on the ultimate challenge by going undercover within his own company? Stick around on this thrilling role of deception and discovery as Sheldon transforms into Tom Kelly and enters a world he's never seen before. Belfor is a billion-dollar disaster restoration company with so many branches across the US and worldwide. And Sheldon, the CEO, is gonna go undercover as an unemployed insurance salesman. How will the incredibly rich Sheldon be treated amongst his employees? What will he find out? His employees are told that this is some kind of show where a man and a woman do the same job, and at the end, one of them has the opportunity to get a job at Belfor. Sheldon's first undercover assignment is with Joe, a restoration technician that works for his company. Things were pretty nice with Joe until Sheldon was unable to perform as well as he thought he would, and since Sheldon was a newbie, Joe made him take out a dead animal that they found in the walls, and that was a bit alarming for Sheldon. As Sheldon got to spend more time with Joe, he got to learn more about his personal life, and Joe is a father of 2, and he's now working side jobs just to keep food on the table. Even though Joe works for Belfor, there aren't really that many restoration jobs that can keep him afloat and provide constant revenue, and because of this, he has to do a lot of other side hustles to pay off some of his debts and his mortgage. Hearing this was quite difficult for Sheldon, as he has a family of his own, and it was difficult for him to hear another man saying that he can't really make ends meet just by working hard on his day job. After spending a day with Joe, the restoration technician, Sheldon heads over to Colorado to meet Drew, a carpenter, and after spending half the day with Drew as a carpenter, Sheldon realizes just how physically demanding and difficult Drew's job is. As they catch up during their lunch break, Sheldon learns that Drew even has a master's degree, but because of his student loans and his rent, he can't really afford not to work and look for other jobs. He wants to work in marketing, but he realizes that he's gonna require a lot of connections to actually get a job. Sheldon takes a good impression of Drew and realizes that he has a lot of untapped potential that's now being squandered by the lack of a good opportunity. Next, Sheldon heads to Brenda, a cleaning technician that works for his company. He found Brenda to be an incredibly lovely and positive person, and we see her trying her best to walk him through her daily work routine. Brenda's backstory is a pretty difficult one to hear, as she spent a lot of her time in poverty, but she's still thankful for the job and opportunity that she has now, and even though her current job doesn't really pay much, she tries to do her hardest to make customers feel comfortable. Hearing Brenda's story and all the adversity and challenges that she faced, Sheldon couldn't help but break down crying, as he realizes just how blessed he is because of his financial security, and he realizes that it's a privilege that not a lot of people can afford. The last one on Sheldon's list was Jen, a water technician. Jen's specific job is to deal with water damage inside of homes. It's a quite demanding job, and Sheldon gets a first-hand experience as he goes into the crawl space inside the house to perform water damage checks with Jen, which was not really that easy. Going under the crawl space that day, though, was not the most difficult thing that Sheldon had to do, as hearing Jen's story about how she got promoted but still hasn't really gotten a raise yet really made him emotional, and he revealed himself to her as he wanted her to know that corporate does actually care about the little guy. Now, after spending a day with 4 of his employees, Sheldon has a lot of big decisions to make. The next day, he gathers some of his executives and they make a decision that they need to reach out more to their people and try and address their personal concerns that's related to the company. With this thought in mind, the employees get invited back to headquarters, thinking that they're there to cast a vote between Sheldon and his other female competitor. Sheldon reveals himself to the employees, starting with Drew, and offers him $15,000 to pay for his student loans, and he also arranges for him to meet his top marketing people in his company so that Drew can manage to get a better job. Next, Sheldon offers Joe a promotion as project manager and also offers him $10,000 on his commission fees, which Sheldon says that Joe will definitely acquire. In addition to that, he also gives him $10,000 so he can pay off some of his mortgage. After Joe's surprise, it was time for Brenda, and Sheldon offers her $10,000 toward the education of her grandchildren, and also offers to teach her some skills so that he can promote her in the future, and he wasn't done yet as he offers her $15,000 for her own personal use. Last but not least, Sheldon meets up with Jen and tells her just how moved he was by her concern about corporate not really caring about the employees, and tells her that he is going to meet with hundreds of his employees 6 times a year to bridge the gap between the employees and the administration. He also offers her a week's paid vacation and gives her the back pay for all the hours that she worked without getting a raise. And on top of all of that, he gives her a $15,000 bonus check. And this is how today's episode of Undercover Boss comes to an end.